Layla nearly threw her phone across the room as anger bubbled within her. The funeral had barely ended when she discovered the infuriating truth. Her voice trembled with both disbelief and rage. "Have you lost your mind, Weston?" she hissed under her breath, pacing the length of her sparsely furnished apartment. Photographs flashed across her laptop screen, each frame an unforgiving reminder. There was Weston, his smile wide as he clinked glasses with his buddy, Kai, at a bachelor party. Women in barely their dresses surrounded them, all seemingly oblivious to the solemnity of the day or the betrayal she felt in this moment. The clock on the images taunted her, 3:15 p.m. Her heart sank further with each passing second she stared at those damning smiles. On a somber Saturday, as Layla watched her father's casket disappear beneath a blanket of earth, her world splintered. 3 times she called that day, desperate for support, and each call had been met with silence. Finally, a text, too sick to come, Weston had sent, dismissive of the calamity weighing on her. Layla, at 31, never envisioned mourning both her father and her fiancé within the span of a single week. In her mind, Weston was already lost the moment reality surfaced in those digital frames. There he was, once her anchor, now a distant stranger. His excuses mumbled down the phone line were hollow echoes, overshadowed by revelations that exposed who he truly was. "Kai needed me," Weston explained, his words unconvincing as they hung in the air between them. Layla could see Weston's grin in those images, reveling in the revelry of Kai's pre-wedding bash. The world saw a man in joyful abandon, but Layla saw the very moment her trust evaporated. The aching memory of her dad lingered as she sat at her kitchen counter, cocooned in one of his worn sweaters, a cherished piece of him she clung to, as if somehow, through threads and fabric, he might still guide her. On her hand, a once dreamt of 3-carat promise now seemed a betrayal, its weight unbearable. "You don't get it, Layla," Weston insisted, his voice laced with patronizing indifference. "Kai's my closest friend. His big night mattered. Your dad, well, my being there wouldn't have changed anything." The cruelty in his words struck like icy shards. Layla's father had never been shy about sharing his reservations, often questioning if Weston was the right choice even when frail and hospital-bound. "You'll see the truth, sweetheart," he had murmured with wisdom only years brought, eyes clouded with both illness and insight. Now, in the aftermath of her father's departure, clarity cracked open in Layla's heart, revealing insights she had once ignored. Her father's grueling battle with cancer had been the crucible of their unfailing bond. Over 8 months, she watched a man known for indomitable strength diminish. Weston's absences became glaring, a litany of work constraints, familial duties, and every conceivable emergency stood between him and her father's fight. Commitment was never enough. His patterns and echo Layla had finally learned to recognize. Grief, it turned out, stripped away pretense and laid bare the truths disguised as fairy tales. Her father was a man who had shown her real love, the sacrifices, the tireless devotion, the lessons imparted with calloused hands. He navigated through life's hardships to raise her alone, missing nothing, the school plays, the joyous recitals, even as illness dimmed his days. He worried more for her than himself. "Promise me you'll care for your light, darling," he'd whispered from frail lips, urging her to safeguard the spirit within. Layla's oldest friend, Jada, had often tried to make her see the disparities. "He overlooks you, Layla," Jada would say when Weston's disregard showed through his actions. Blinded by the allure of a glossy future, Layla had ignored warning signs, a whirlwind romance that ended with a grand sunset proposal, an ad for a life she longed to believe in. But with her dad's departure and the rawness of loss, the illusory walls Layla had built around Weston crumbled. A man capable of lively abandon while she mourned, who celebrated as she grieved, who laughed amidst her tears. Her gaze returned to the photos, one where he showered money with brazen aplomb amidst a sea of dancers, while elsewhere she stood with tears painting silent streaks upon her face at the graveside. Another captured him shouldering Kai through a swimming pool, the timestamp mocking her with its reminder that long before the sun settled, her father's legacy had slipped away. As Layla stood at the front of the room, struggling to hold herself steady while delivering her father's eulogy, her thoughts unexpectedly returned to the glowing screen of her phone. Each swipe felt like a fresh cut across her soul. Praise for the best Bachelor bash ever filled the social media comments underneath Weston's posts, while her own notifications were drowned in a sea of somber messages, heartfelt condolences she couldn't yet bear to acknowledge. Weston's voice crackled through the speaker, snapping her back into the present and away from her spiraling emotions. "Layla, you still there?" he inquired, oblivious to the knife-like sting each word carried. "I know it wasn't great timing, but you're overreacting. You can't just walk away from lifelong friends like Kai." Around him, the symphony of a bustling office painted a vivid picture of his divided focus. His unattentive demeanor was like an unexpected gust of icy wind, chilling Layla to her bones and flipping a dormant switch inside her heart. Clarity washed over her as she twisted the once precious engagement ring off her finger. "You're right, Weston," Layla responded, her voice eerily calm. "The timing wasn't great, like when you missed my dad's final Christmas for a ski trip or left his birthday dinner halfway for Kai." She could almost hear the exasperated roll of his eyes through the phone line. A sudden comprehension hit her. It wasn't just about that one night. It was a culmination of negligent choices, boundaries overstepped, and cautions disregarded. Her father would have been disheartened by the undervaluation of her own worth. "I've had it with your guilt trips, Layla," Weston cut in, his voice escalating as he attempted to reclaim authority. "I know you're upset about your dad, but life doesn't stop. Kai's bash cost a small fortune. As his best man, As his best man, you had to do body shots while I was burying my dad? Smile for the cameras with those women while I was selecting a casket?" Her voice firmed, vibrating not from sorrow, but from a tidal wave of anger that had loomed beneath her surface for years. "Did I cross your mind even once that day?" Weston fell silent, the weight of her words reverberating through the phone. When he did speak again, his tone carried the frustrating patronization she knew too well. "Of course, I thought of you," he stated. "I even sent a text. Remember?" A harsh laugh escaped Layla, unbidden. A solitary text with a sad emoji, apparently the entirety of her sorrow's worth. Turning to her laptop, she opened her email. "You'll find this interesting, Weston. Kai's fiancé just sent me videos from that night. She regrets what went down." The sound of a door softly clicking shut on his end hinted that she finally had his full attention. "Layla, wait, those clips, they don't show everything. I was only keeping Kai's mood up. You know what he's like when he drinks." Empty rationalizations. She'd heard them too often. This time, though, they fell on deaf ears. "No, Weston, those videos show plenty. They show you partying hard with your friends at 2 p.m., while I was bracing myself to deliver my dad's eulogy at 3:27. In that moment, Weston's earlier bravado dissolved into the ether, replaced by a rustle of panic and a pressured exhale. But for Layla, there was no turning back. The mask had slipped, and what remained were the undeniable truths she could no longer ignore. Layla's heart pounded as she wrestled with the unreality of it all. Images flashing across her phone only confirmed the gut-wrenching truth. When she had reached out, asking if he could at least join the remembrance gathering, Weston had been busy elsewhere. There he was, caught on camera at 5 p.m., exuberantly swaying atop a table while she was somberly sorting through her father's belongings, leaning on her friend Jada for that harrowing task she couldn't bear to face alone. This clarity, both brutal and liberating, revealed the unvarnished truth of Weston's character, dismantling the fantasy she'd clung to for 3 agonizing years. The ambient noise of Weston's office faded to static, replaced by echoes suggesting he'd sought privacy in some vacant stairwell. "You're being irrational," he snapped, his voice reduced to a serpent-like hiss. "This isn't about the party, it's your grief talking. You're just finding somewhere else to place the blame." Layla's eyes lingered on a framed photograph perched on her desk, her college graduation, her father's pride manifest in his smile as he stood beside her, having worked extra shifts to fund her final semester. Weston's words stung, but she retorted with surprising composure, "You're right about one thing. It's not only about that party. It's about Jada braving a storm to be at my side, while you basked in resort luxury. It's about Kai's fiancé, who I barely know, sending sincere condolences while you stayed away. Your actions have cemented one painful truth. Your comfort has forever outstripped my suffering in your priorities." Weston began to object, but Layla was done with interruption. Her words, long suppressed, now streamed forth with resolute force. Let's talk about that, Weston." Her fingers danced across her phone, pulling up another gallery of memories. "Here's a snapshot of you belting out karaoke at 6 p.m. while I was lost in a haze of grief." Her own calm surprised her, for it was mixed with the storm of long-buried realizations now unleashed. The truth shone through the inexorable light of her newfound resolve. Layla sat in her car, emotions swirling as she grappled with the weight of her father's now vacant home. Her heart twisted with each breath, and she fought back tears in the isolation of the driver's seat. A sudden alert broke her spiral, a new image surfacing on her social media feed. There was Weston, lounging by the pool with a mimosa in hand, while she was meeting with the funeral director to finalize her father's arrangements. "Would you like the catalog of all your escapades?" she thought bitterly, knowing each image told a truth she couldn't ignore. After a heavy pause, Weston's voice came through, barely layered with any genuine regret. "I messed up, okay?" he confessed, yet his tone revealed more irritation than shame. "What do you want me to say?" "I'm sorry. But are you really going to throw away everything, 3 years, our wedding plans, the house we dreamed about, over one mistake?" Her gaze fell on the engagement ring glittering under the dim car light, a cruel mockery of love's promises. Recollections tugged at her, sitting beside her dad in the hospital, showing him the ring with childish pride. His response had been a tender yet discerning, "But does he make you proud, my dear?" ringing of wisdom she had brushed aside. Now those words returned, resonating with a clarity she could no longer deny. "You're right again, Weston," Layla replied, her voice steady yet soft. "One mistake shouldn't unravel everything. But this isn't one mistake. It's the first time I see them all with open eyes." The line fell silent, Weston's condescending edge fading, replaced by an unfamiliar fear. Layla picked up the ring, feeling its weight one last time. Memories of the joy it once promised now seemed distant, mere echoes of a past where she accepted crumbs and called them love. "My father's final gift to me was clarity," she continued, placing the ring into an envelope with the printed photos from Kai's fiancé's feed. His love was about showing up, choosing happiness over convenience, and enduring when it was hardest. Her voice shook momentarily, yet she pressed on. "And you've shown me consistently what real love isn't." Silence hung between them like an unsaid oath, the unspoken truths of her years of disappointment and his neglect now laid bare. Finally, Weston broke the silence, anger tainting his voice. "So that's it? You're just throwing it away? I knew you were sensitive, but this—" "No, Weston," Layla replied with finality, sealing the envelope. "I am thinking clearly for the first time in years. The ring will be in your mailbox tomorrow. Don't try to reach me again." With that, she ended the call and blocked his number, though her hands trembled. Her resolve didn't waver. Her father's voice echoed, "You'll see him for what he is, sweetheart." Tears cascaded, but through them, Layla smiled. "You were right, Dad," she whispered. "You were right all along." The following weeks passed in a haze of sympathy cards and casseroles from neighbors, accompanied by Weston's side's deafening silence. She had braced for him to return, pleading at her door for forgiveness, but met only with angry messages from his sister, chastising Layla for selfishness and heartbreak. With a decisive click, she blocked her too. Jada became her steadfast companion in those early, difficult days, bringing warmth and takeout, offering patient ears, while Layla oscillated between grief for her father and fury over Weston. One evening, wrapped in her dad's old cardigan, Layla confessed, "You know what's hardest? I keep reaching for the phone, wanting to tell Dad everything. My thoughts still drift to calling him first." Jada nodded, understanding that the weight of some pains never fully lifts, only shifts, making room for strength Layla hadn't known existed, a testament to the unresolved longing and enduring love that would guide her forward. Standing alone in the dimly lit study, Layla found herself surrounded by her father's lingering presence, a mug half full on the desk, his reading glasses perched neatly beside it. A letter waited there, its words hidden until now. She picked it up, letting the light reveal her father's final advice. "My dearest Layla," it began. "If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer there to say this in person. But these truths must be spoken." With each line, Layla felt his warmth and pride wrap around her like a comforting embrace. Yet one passage made her heart falter. "I've seen you shrink to fit into Weston's world, dim your spirit to avoid overshadowing him. That's not the daughter I raised." This was not only a farewell from her father, but an unexpected mirror into her own heart. As she paused to absorb this, Layla realized she was mourning not just her father, but also the parts of herself lost alongside Weston. Over the years, she'd learned to be smaller, quieter, apologetic for having needs less than she deserved. Her father saw it all and, in his ultimate act of love, offered her the courage to reclaim her life. Later that night, Layla faced the memories she'd stored away. Her laptop brought them back, the images of what once was. The night of the proposal, when Weston appeared distracted, eyes fixated more on his phone than the moment. Christmas, forgotten, as he networked over dinner, leaving her with smiles worn thin. Each snapshot bore signs she had foolishly ignored. "Oh, Dad," Layla whispered into the stillness. "How did you see what I couldn't?" 3 days after that revelation, a real test awaited. Layla pushed her shopping cart aimlessly, colliding with none other than Kai and his newlywed wife, Mira. Her pulse quickened, the first from Weston's circle she'd encountered since the split. Before she could escape, Mira stepped forward, enveloping Layla in a sincere hug. "Layla, I'm so sorry," she said, sincere warmth in her eyes. "I wanted to reach out, but wasn't sure you'd want to hear from us. What Weston did, there's no excuse." Kai lingered awkwardly behind, shifting on his feet with guilt-ridden reluctance. "I tried to tell him not to come," he confessed, finally breaking the silence. "When Weston showed up at the party, I asked about the funeral. He said you told him not to worry, that you had plenty of support." The grocery store's fluorescent lights glared, the tight aisle closing in. Trust shattered, Layla realized the extent of Weston's deceit, but she focused on Kai's remorse. Weirdly, he never reached out after Dad passed, Layla admitted, surprising herself with a wry laugh. No flowers, no card. Just one message claiming illness and silence until the party pics surfaced. A darkness crept into Myra's eyes. "It gets worse," she said, showing Layla the phone. Recent social media posts from Weston, meticulously crafting a narrative. Weston, the patient fiancé, standing by as Layla spiraled emotionally, too grief-bound to think clearly. But Layla felt not rage, but calm. "Let him weave his tales," she said, with newfound strength. "Those who matter know the truth. And if they buy his lies, they're not meant for my life anyway." Myra's expression shifted to admiration, while Kai's remorse deepened. The validation from new allies and a growing internal strength were a testament to the chapters she'd closed, and the ones she was boldly stepping into. Autumn's leaves drifted across the yard as Layla sat on the porch, wrapped snugly in her father's faded cardigan. A sense of quiet filled the air, and though the world kept spinning since her father's passing, time felt both distant and near. For months had slipped by since she ended things with Weston. The pain from that decision dissipated more swiftly than she'd predicted, replaced by a seemingly effortless liberation she hadn't realized she craved. Her father's spirit lingered in the small treasures he left behind. Just last week, during a venture through his personal belongings, she discovered an old leather journal. On its final page, her father had penned words that mingled tears with laughter for her. "My Layla, stronger than she knows," he'd written. "Life's toughest trials are gifts, revealing our true selves and the essence of others." Next to this was a simple sketch, a butterfly breaking free. That profound wisdom, typical of her dad, resonated with her. Looking at the drawing, Layla saw her own journey mirrored back. Losing her dad had shattered her heart, but had simultaneously severed the illusion Weston had spun around her. Through the crevice of that loss, strength took root, a strength she hadn't recognized before. Now, on the far side of sorrow and the end of a mismatched relationship, Layla emerged more authentically herself than she'd ever dared imagine. Grief, while digging deep voids, created room for insight to blossom. Her father's void taught her more than any presence could to cherish authenticity, to seek out true love, and above all, to remember her light must never dim for another. Weston and the facade of their shared future were chapters now firmly closed. With them went tangible reminders. The ring, the photos, all shattered illusions cleared away. In place of those was something infinitely more valuable: peace. Layla returned to writing, using the notebook she'd retrieved from her father's study. Every page represented a step toward rediscovering her own narrative. Tonight, as she sat cradled in the familiar embrace of the porch where countless sunsets had been witnessed alongside her dad, hope sprouted anew. The sky, awash in vibrant hues, a palette her father would have deemed perfect for fishing, stretched above her. For the first time in a long while, optimism felt within reach. Life didn't merely continue after heartache, it found ways to flourish even amidst loss. Within the ruins left by misjudged affection, space for renewal existed. And there, watching twilight drape itself over the hills, Layla knew balance had returned. She was ready to grow,